Hello, boys and girls. Today we are taking our understanding of place value to the next level. So we talked about how we have the ones place, and then we have the decimal point, and to the right of the decimal point we have the tenths place, and then to the right of that, I'm just going to put it 2 there, is the hundredths place. The hundredths place is 10 times smaller than the tenths place. So as we go to the right, the place value is getting smaller. Just like we did over on the whole numbers, when we go to the left, it gets bigger. When we go to the right, it gets smaller. So this is the hundredths place. Notice that I have the THS at the end. So if I have a 2 in the hundredths place, I would write that as 2 hundredths, or as a decimal, 2 hundredths. If we were talking about money, it's equivalent to a penny, because 100 pennies would be equal to $1, right? We know 100 100ths is the same as 1 whole. 100 pennies is worth 1 whole dollar. So now we are looking at what is the length of the shaded part of the meter stick. So we know that 1 is the same as 10 centimeters. 1 and 10. So we could break this up into 10 parts, and that's 10 centimeters. What fraction of a meter is 1 centimeter? So if we were talking about 1 meter is the same as, so as I was saying, we know that 1 centimeter is the same as 1 100th of a meter, right? So for C, in fraction form, express the length of the shaded portion of the meter stick. So if we look and we count these all up, there's 10 equal parts. So how could we write that in a fraction form to express that shaded portion? So that would mean, hang on, Michael. So that would mean that this is like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Excuse me, Michael. So this would be the same as, hang on, guys. Michael. Okay, please don't touch. So this would be the same of 10 out of 100 meters. So if all of these were colored in, it would be like 100 100ths, but only 10, where 1/10 of it was colored in. So in decimal form, how could we write that? That's the next part, is D. How could we write that shaded portion as a decimal? So if we had 10 100ths as a decimal, it would look like this. 10 hundredths. We say the name of the last place value. So this is 10 hundredths. What fraction of a meter is 10 centimeters? So now we're looking at part E. So we know if we're talking about 10 centimeters, that means it's 1/10 meters, right? So let's move on to 2A. 1/10, so I'm just going to write 1/10 is equivalent to how many hundredths? So we know that 1/10 is equal to 10 hundredths. These are the same thing. They may look a little different, but they're worth the same amount. If I had 10 pennies or 1 dime, they're worth the same thing, right? So 1/10 and 10 100ths are the same thing. Decimal form, fraction form. So now let's take it to the next level. If I have 2 tenths, and I have 20 100ths are the same thing. Sorry, you can't see my 0 very good. They're equal to the same value. So if we take a closer look at 3A, they kind of did it for us. They want us, well, they did do it for us. So let's just dissect it real quick. First, we have 1 whole tenth. This is 1/10. And then we have 3 hundredths. because only 3 are filled in out of those whole hundredths, right? So together, what would it be? So we have 1/10 plus 3 100ths, and it would equal 13 hundredths. Another way, so you're just breaking it apart at what you have, okay? So that's worth the same amount. All right, so I want you to just watch with me as I do B, and then I'll have you do C by yourself. So just follow along with me for B. So what I have is I have 1/10, and I have 1/10, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 100. So when I add these up, I have 1/10 plus 1/10, which is 2/10, and 4 100ths, which equals 24 hundredths. Okay? Let's take a moment, pause your video, and I want you to try C all by yourself. Okay, guys? Go for it. So hopefully as you were solving this, what you did was we're looking specifically in the tenths place. So I have 1, 2, 3 in the tenths place, and in the hundredths place, I have 8. So how I could read this is 0 and 38 hundredths. You say the value of the last place value. So I have 0 and 38 hundredths because this 8 is in the hundredths place. Now what we're going to do is on each meter stick, shade in the amount, then write the equivalent decimal. So these are all written in fractions. Just watch as I do the first one, and then we'll keep going. So we know that this is 1/10, 1/10, 1/10, 1/10, and so forth. And I have 8/10ths, which means I'm going to color in 8 of these. Another way I could write this is showing that I have 0 in the ones place and 8 in the tens place. And then we can't forget to have our label. So what I want you to do is let's take a closer look at this one. This one we're talking about hundredths, which means we have to break these into 10 equal parts. And then we're gonna color in 7 of them. And that's 7 100ths, also known as 0 and 7 hundredths. Same thing, okay? Why don't you pause your video and try C. Awesome, guys. So what you did here was you colored in 19. So you broke apart into 10 parts, and you broke it apart into 10 parts, and then you colored in 19 of them. And hopefully you got, when you converted it to a decimal, I forgot my labels, 0 and 19 hundredths. And that's what we showed. What I want you to do is, I want to just quickly show you how we can break these apart and show how we have the equivalent as a decimal. So we have, I like to look at the first number, and that means I have 1/10, and then the second digit is 9 hundredths. Together, that means I have 0 and 19 hundredths. Your exit ticket for today will be B, C, and D, just converting those to a decimal form. So showing how these are in decimal form. Go ahead over to Schoology and do your exit ticket. Good luck.